Here we are. Hello. Good to see you. My name's Rich. Good to see you. I love the way we've got comedy written across the wall there, just in case I say some stuff that you don't find funny. It's just to remind you of where we're at. Yes, I am Rich, and I'm Gen X, Generation X. I'm not sure if I'm part of the solution or part of the problem. Probably a bit of both, to be honest. And I'm often described as a geezer. So you're a bit of a geezer. And I do sound like a bit of a geezer, but I'm not actually like that. I did this. I created this because I grew up with lads and geezers, so I didn't want to get my head punched in. So I assimilated to it in order to survive. And the fact that I use the word assimilated separates me somewhat from the lads and geezers. And the first question I'm always asked by other lads and geezers, what is your team? When they talk about soccer or football, depending on where you are in the world. What is your team? And that's how a lot of men will kind of, that's how a lot of men will communicate with each other. That's the only level they can kind of figure out. And as I was growing up, I went with it, and I would say, Palace. Now, for those of you in the UK, you'll know that Palace is short for Crystal Palace. And to shorten it to Palace makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about. It's just, and now I'm older. Now I'm in my 50s. I realise now that I don't have to pretend anymore. It's a lovely place to be. So when I'm asked like, what's your team, and I say I don't actually follow football. In fact, I find it grotesque, to be honest. They look at me like I've said, "Would you like to hum on my genitals?" They can't get their heads around it really. I've just had a baby as well, which is yeah. Thank you very much. And I know you're looking at me. And there was a bloke the other day at a gig, and I said those very words, and I said I've just had a baby, and a voice from the back just went, "Looking well." So I'm assuming that goes down eventually. I'm sure that'll go down. Post baby chub. And listen, I'm as surprised as you are. I genuinely didn't think I'd have any swimmers left. At this age, I thought by now they'd just be heads without tails, just spinning around and around. I'm not sure how clean or dirty I'm supposed to be. Comedy, don't forget comedy. Read the words on the. I don't know. I met my wife a couple of years ago, and then when we met, and we were like 3 dates in. Third date, I knew it was coming as well. The question of babies and things like that, and she was like, "Look, I'm a little bit younger than you." And I'm like, and when I say that, I'm not Jerry Lee Lewis. I'm not Elvis. Like, she's of age. It's completely legal. Don't be weird, all right? She, not in a weird up the part way. This was her decision to get involved with this funky Captain Birdseye fella. It's like coked up Santa. Don't do drugs, kids. Or do them all. Do everything. They're really good fun. They are really good fun. Putin's about to kill us all, so you really must get involved. Do them all. Do them all. You'll have a really good fun time. I don't do them now. I just run up the stairs really fast. If I bend down and tie my shoe, if I get up really quickly, I will lose an afternoon, honestly. So we met, my wife and I, and we were chatting, and she says, "Look, I know you've already had kids yourself, but I haven't, and I might not be able to have them. I might not necessarily want them, but I don't know. I just want the option to be on the table. Like, what do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah." I went, "Yeah, fine." Yeah, I'm thinking there's no way. There's absolutely no way. I'm middle class as well, which is a thing in the UK. Very big on class over here, and my wife's very, very middle class, to the point she's sort of upper class almost. She comes from a family whose great, I'm not sure how far back it goes, but his name was Titus Salt. And Titus Salt built the town of Saltaire, which is a mill town between Leeds and Bradford. So he had the mill, he was a mill owner, and for the workers he built an entire town, houses, shops, for the entire town. And so when you go to the church that's there, on the family tree, my wife's name is there on the family tree in the church. Amazing, yeah. Mine's there now, scratched in with a key. I'm joining. But now, because she's middle class, and now we're married, I'm now middle class by proxy. That's how that works. And certain things I've noticed that when you're middle class, there's a couple of things you have to do. Like when you go and buy a coffee and they tell you how much, you're not allowed to flinch. You have to act like it's normal. It's like £4. Reasonable. Thank you. I'll have a £15 sandwich as well while I'm here. I'm middle class, don't you know? But it turns out that my seamen, very working class still, and they did not muck about. First go, they just came flying down the ramp. Is that the egg? Have that yet? And so we've got a little baby called Bodhi. And I want to say that he's named after the tree that Buddha did his teachings from beneath, the Bodhi tree. And the day that we brought him home from hospital was actually Bodhi Day in the Buddhist calendar. Completely by chance. We didn't plan that. It just completely happened. And that's what I want to say. But he's actually named after Patrick Swayze in Point Break. I don't know if anyone in the room has seen the film. You've seen the film? Yeah, what a film. It's of its time. It's very sort of late 80s, early 90s. And, yeah, I mean, it's one of the best films ever made and one of the worst. But it's a fantastic film. And so, yeah, Patrick Swayze. And to get on this, so my eldest son, who's 32 years old now, it's called Keanu. So I've got on both, which is I played the long game. I'm really glad that Keanu Reeves turned out to be a hero and not a sex offender. Because the famous people do tend to have a penchant for doing that, don't they? You start off loving them, and then later on, I'm a massive wrong 'un. You've ruined my entire DVD collection. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. So, being an older fella as well, I like being where I'm at now. People tend to sort of leave you alone. You know, they ask you, they think you know stuff as well. Like they ask you advice. You can say whatever you like. You can say anything. They go, oh yeah, that sounds about right. You're 52. Absolutely. Also, if you ever have to deal with the police at this age, when they pull you over, you can just tell them to go away. It's amazing. Like they pull up and they go, and I'm like, no, mate, go and get your dad. and then we'll have a chat. But I'm not dealing with you, you juvenile. This happened as well the other day. So I was talking to my new baby. He's only 6 months old, and he was in front of me, and he was lying on the mat, and he's gurgling and smiling and laughing, having a lovely time. I was looking at him going, look at you, you little smasher. You're amazing. I wonder what you're going to grow up to be. I wonder what you're going to be into. He just grabbed his feet, and he just rolled away. Now, wouldn't that be amazing to be able to do that as a grown-up? Imagine, just talking to someone and go, you're boring the arse off me, and just grab your feet and just roll away. Don't forget, comedy. You've been amazing. I've been Rich Wilson. Take care. Goodbye. Thank you so much. You look amazing.
Thank you.
This is a beautiful, beautiful ensemble.
Oh, yes. I love your cravat, by the way.
Thank you. Do you know what? It makes all the difference. Just a scarf or a cravat. Just change. You don't realise that underneath this, it's just a T-shirt and pants.
That's it.
Just makes a difference, yeah. But you look wonderful. Like the moustache is working. What a beautiful set of moustaches. And this is the thing, having grown up in the 70s and the 80s, like with somebody that's dressed in this way, a lot of men would feel challenged because it's a bold choice, but they really would like to be more you. But because of that, they feel they can't, so because of that they get defensive.
Oh yeah, there's like a double thing.
Yeah, so they're kind of like they're having a go at themselves and you at the same time, and really it's because they admire you and what you're doing. I mean, you look wonderful. Your eyes are to die for.
Thank you.
I genuinely
where are those
wish. Yeah. Shall we?
Yeah.
Hey, let's do this for the the OnlyFans version. But sorry, I do apologise. I've dominated the conversation already.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love blushing. It's good for the skin.
It is good for the skin. I just like to. I think as an older dude, I think it's important to be able to express yourself and tell someone when they look nice or they smell nice. I'm big on smells. Yeah. Yeah, someone smells like I'm like, dude, what's that? Yeah. You know, it'll make and you'll make their day as well. It's fascinating.
I mean, on that note of masculinity, complimenting people, and one of the things I really like about watching your comedy sets when I've seen your videos is that you pull the piss in a semi-respectful way of the geezers of this world. I remember in one set you mentioned a group of your friends in a pub, and they were commenting about like the toilet being changed to transgender, and then they go in there, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to clock them."
Yeah,
Love that. Yeah. But like, were you always so free and easy with talking about like masculinity and its limits in your comedy set, or was there a point where it shifted for you?
I think when I think back to what it was like when I was a kid, I went to an all-boys secondary school, and I've talked about this on the podcast as well. Because everybody was getting bullied, we were all like, so you know, I was getting bullied, so then I'd bully someone, and you know, so if anyone showed any sort of sign of any kind of weakness, for want of a better word, they would just get it because you were getting it, and you needed a way to release
to remove the pressure from themselves.
Yeah. And so because it was an all boys school, so when I think back now, there were a couple of guys that were. Now I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, they were clearly gay, or they were bisexual, or they were even trans. Even, you know, I think there was one particular person that has now transitioned. When I think back and the amount of abuse that they got, and it was all in the defence, you kind of, you know, you learn from that. You go, oh man, that must have been horrible for them. Yeah. And so going forward, because of that, you've got to own that. Look, none of us were perfect. You know, but it came from a place of, like I say, insecurity. And then going forward, I think when I started off in comedy, I did have a trans joke that wasn't necessarily anti-trans, but it wasn't complimentary. It was like mocking it, you know, that kind. You know, so mocking the whole thing. So I didn't really understand it when I was growing up. It was just seen that they'd always have that sort of thing. Oh, they were born in the wrong body. That was it. There wasn't. There was no grey area. It was just that person is a man, but they want to be a woman, and then it was kind of seen as funny in a way, and so there was a lot of that. And so the joke I had years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and then it wasn't until later on having discussions with people on the podcast, and then talking to them about what they've been through and how it feels to actually be trans, or how it feels to be gay, or how it feels to go, yeah. There's so much going on that the last thing they need is to have somebody like me mocking that, even if it is meant as a joke. It's not the one. It's not the way, and you can't. So from that day forward, it was like, yeah, I want to support people and be more understanding of people, and you know, I greatly admire people like Lee Bowery and people like that were just so out there. Yeah. I'm like, I missed out on so much.
Like a shining beacon for the rest of us, isn't it?
I genuinely wish I'd been more open. And so if anyone takes anything away from the podcast, it's like, don't worry about what society tells you. Be more you. Listen to that little voice. It's that if you want to wear that, wear that. If you want to do that. Genuinely, that's my one regret in life. I wish I'd been more open to that and listened to that little voice. Because as it is, I just look and sound like a bus driver. And it really upsets me. I want to wear hats.
Well, you sound like the bus driver from the Lush Zone.
Yeah. Beep, beep.
You know, Rich, it's been such a pleasure to have you on set and to have a chat with you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.